Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm here today in Westchester, Ohio at Escort headquarters, and I'm sitting with a number of members here with Escort from the product team. And basically, over the past couple of weeks or so, you guys have been asking me a bunch of different questions that you would like me to ask Escort. Things about the products, any issues that you guys have been seeing, updates that are coming, things like that. And basically, I want to go ahead and take a lot of the main questions that you guys have been having, and myself as well, and have a chance to sit down with Escort here and go over a lot of the different things that we've all been wondering. And so with that said,
I'm Roy Coburn. I'm the Director of Product Development for Escort, Bell, and Cobra Radar.
I'm Mark Carnes, the Vice President of Strategic Planning and Product Management. I oversee all of our brands and development.
And I'm John Kuhn, Vice President of Engineering, and I oversee the design and development of all products for Escort, Beltronics, and Cobra.
Perfect. So a lot of experience with Escort, familiarity with products, technical expertise, all that good stuff.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I guess with that said, let's dive right into it.
Okay.
So the first thing that I wanted to talk about were the lockups that we're seeing with the Max 360, Max 360C, GT360. Can we talk a little bit about kind of what's been going on and some of the recent fixes?
Yeah, we released some software this past week that fixes this problem.
Mm-hmm.
We found some people on the forum that could replicate the problem. We couldn't replicate it here.
Mm-hmm.
So we worked with them, and we've got that software up there on the network, and it's working.
Yeah, so far initial reports are seeming pretty good.
Yeah.
I have heard one report so far of somebody getting a lockup with a 360,
Mm-hmm.
but so far, almost universally, just from what I've seen, it's been pretty good. Is there also going to be an update coming for the 360C?
I'm sure we will be doing that very soon.
So we're looking at it, but it's not the exact same software.
It's
So
not.
what we're seeing is we haven't really had any complaints on the 360C
Mhm.
to the level that we've seen on the Max 360. So
Oh,
if it
interesting.
crops up, we can apply a similar fix, but it is a little bit different software, so we're not seeing the problem right now. So.
Okay, yeah, I was able to see it on like all three of the 360 detectors. So
Okay.
I saw it on the 360C as well, and I figured it's the same idea, just with Wi-Fi and a little
Okay.
bit more, but maybe it's not quite the same under the hood. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit different as far as the software is concerned. But it's an easy fix if there's still an issue on the 360C. So.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. It was taking a little while.
Yeah, so if that's a problem, I think we can. It's an easy roll in, and we can probably do that next week. But
Cool.
But yeah, we'd like to look at that.
So I guess speaking of updates, next thing I want to talk about is the Max and the Max 2. I know we had a recent IVT update for that.
Mhm.
It was kind of one of those things where it took a while to come out. It was like promised and then missed, promised and missed, and so it took a little while to actually be released. And so I'm kind of curious as far as future updates, as far as timelines and speed of updates.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think if you look at some of your reviews of the Max 360C, you've given it a pretty good review as far as the blind spot monitoring problem, right? So that took us a long time to really develop and get right. So same thing happened with the Max to go back and include it. It took us, I don't know, probably 6 months of continuous work to update that. And then what happened was, in 2020, all cars are going to have that as an option.
Mm-hmm.
So as more cars come out, we're continually adding more cars and fixes into that software. So it was kind of an open-ended thing. As we saw more cars and more issues, we kept working on it longer and longer to make sure that we really had a good quality fix to send out. So it was kind of an open-ended thing, and I think we did drag it out longer than we thought. But we really wanted to make sure we got it right, make sure we got all the fixes we could into it, and then when it was ready to go, we launched it. So it wasn't an issue of we didn't want to fix it or we didn't want to work on it. It was truly, let's just get this right the first time when we go out with it. So.
Was it pretty much just taking the same filtering that you have in the 360 and 360C and porting it over to the Max and the Max 2?
So we started with that, and it is a slightly different detection platform in the way that it works, even though we use very similar chips inside of it. So
it's not the
so we
same
did have to
system, right?
adapt it slightly.
Okay.
Yeah. When we went from the Max and the Max 2 to the Max 360 and 360Cs, they are slightly different platforms, even though they're using the same chipsets. And a lot of that was we had to get front and rear into it, so we made some different adaptations to the hardware and software. So we had to work on that all over again, and also be able to cover front and rear rejection and detection. In a part of it too is we want to be very quick in the way that we reject and still be able to alert quickly. And so there were some other challenges going backwards and adding that back into the old hardware. So
It's interesting. So I always figured the Max 360 was a Max 2, just with the rear antenna. But are there some other maybe under the hood differences?
Yeah, because every time we bring out a new platform, even moving from the Max to the Max 2, there was a difference. There was an improvement when we went to the Max 2 as far as detection capability. Now, since then, we've rolled that back in. We've been able to put that back into the Max. But then with the same thing when we went from the Max 2 to the Max 360 and the Max 360C, there were improvements again. So we're always working on improvements. And those improvements, we have to go in and modify a different version of software, and it does detect differently. So yeah, they are different.
Is it sweep patterns or faster processors, or what kind of improvements?
It's mainly sweep patterns, and we make improvements on how quickly we can detect and sensitivity improvements as we go from one platform to the next. And then we try to put that, if it's capable, we try to put that back into the previous platform. So we try to always roll it into back platforms if it's possible, but they are different, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, and then as a user, besides adding the rear antenna, like what other differences will we notice, like faster sweep or better performance, like between Max 2 and Max 360s?
So there's really the sweep time as far as the processing time between the two is the same, and that was the improvement we made. So
okay.
Max 2 is a single antenna. It's looking out the front. Max 360 and 360C. Now we have to look at both front and rear at the same time. So you would expect that typically the sweep times would be longer. So the goal was between the Max 2 and the Max 360C platform to improve the sweep time so that we can still cover it in the same time that we were in the Max 2.
Gotcha.
But cover both antennas at the same time.
Since you've effectively got 2 radar detectors in one.
Yes.
You have to speed it up. Okay, that makes sense. Cool. And then I guess the next question then, moving on to laser shifters. Adding automatic JTK support in the Shifter Max, Max CI, ZR5, ZW5, is that something that's going to be coming?
Yeah, we looked at that this past week also, and we're gonna add that feature into those models.
Okay. How is it going to be implemented?
It's going to be default off versus on.
Okay.
Mainly because we want to make sure our customers are secure with that feature. And with 4 seconds of that turning off, some customers might not like that.
Sure, yeah. Something I was thinking is, I know we've had discussion on the forums and stuff, like a lot of customers may not even know that automatic JTK is a feature. A lot of them don't even know what button to press or that you're even supposed to disable the jammers. They're like, oh, it's legal. Why would I disable them?
Right. So
maybe if it was made more prominent to it's really important to disable the jammers so that the customers are aware of that. I know if they have a CI product or something, the installer may not tell them. They're just, I have a laser jammer.
Right.
But they might not know. So maybe something as far as educationally so the customers are informed about that?
Yeah, one of the issues that we've had is when we originally designed that feature into the product, the thought was, well, for people who wanted to be able to quickly turn off laser jamming, the double tap was the way. So you tap the mute button twice. And what that solved, we hoped, was some people, if they're speeding, some people think laser jamming, the way to do it is, I don't have to slow down, I don't have to do anything, I just can keep driving through and I should be able to jam and slowly slow down. Other people that drive, especially some of the experts in the forum, they realize, hey, look, I want to slow down as quickly as possible. I don't want any jam codes coming up or any other things where the officer might know that he's being jammed. So I want to stop that as quickly as possible. So the double tap was always, hey, you could do it either way. For customers who really knew how it worked, you double tap the mute, you're instantly off. We stop jamming. And for the people, if your wife's driving the car and she doesn't know, or you have kids or whoever else is driving the car, those people, they may not know if you put JTK in, they think they're protected all the way through. So there's some issues with both options. But I think what we've realized is, we thought the double tap solution was a good solution, but we've had a lot of people in the forum say, hey, look, this is really important to us. So please, can you put it in? So we decided we're going to go ahead and put it in. So we'll keep the current feature, the double tap feature, but at the same time, we're going to go ahead and put a JTK programming feature into the products, and we're going to turn it off by default. And then the experienced guys who really want that product, they'll be able to go in, turn it on, set it up, and then use it that way. So
I guess my concern go ahead.
And you brought up a great point about point of sale education. So really, when you think about a custom install product, it's really that. It's between the installer and also the customer is how custom can I make it for you? How do I go through and train you on what you just asked me to do? And is there flexibility in the solution to change it if I do want to?
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of our main goals, is to provide all of that with our certified specialist at that point of sale.
I guess one of my concerns then is educating people who are not the enthusiasts. Like I had somebody who bought a set of ZW5s and he got pulled over using them because he didn't know he was supposed to disable the jammers. He didn't realize he was supposed to double press and jammed a gun, and he got pulled over and he got his car searched. So there's a lot of people that don't know. And so the feature I think is really important not only for the educated consumer, but also people that don't know to help get them out of trouble. Keep jammers legal. If people start jamming officers, we're going to have legal issues. So I think this is really critical, not just for the experienced user, but also for the average driver.
Yeah, and I agree, and that is something that I think could be brought up, especially now with the way things are going, and they are, people are more aware that there are laser jammers out there, and right now it's really the enthusiasts driving it, but as they're more and more get into cars, these remotes get into cars, and laser jammers get into cars, it's something we definitely want to be able to educate the public on. So yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and maybe even things like the JTK I noticed in the ZW5's manual, it's not even included. It is in the ZR5, but not the ZW5. I was thinking, I know it's double press the mute button for the Max CI 360. What if it was something where maybe a single press would disable, or even any button? That way, if you're just trying to quickly press the button, it's just system disarms. You don't have to try to hunt and find the right button and double press it. Do you think that would be beneficial for people?
Yeah, we can take a look at that.
Yeah.
The only thing I could get concerned of is pressing multiple buttons. If you tell the customer one button, then they can be consistently with it. But if you press a button during an alert and you want to turn the volume down,
that's a good
different
point.
things like that. So.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Good to have that. Yeah, good idea. I didn't think about that. So cool, but I'm really glad to hear that you guys are going to be adding that, and also to make sure on the education side it's also addressed, just to make sure these stay legal, customers are protected, they don't run into issues, things like that. So, okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of R&D. So just curious about Escort's level of commitment to developing new products and continually updating existing products, how well that's going.
Yeah, so I'll start with that. So, first of all, I think if you look at the number of engineers and people we have working on radar, we probably have more engineers and people just designing radar detectors than anybody in the world, right now. So, we have groups here in Westchester, we have groups in Chicago, we have groups in Toronto, we have a group in Hong Kong, and all of those people are working on radar detectors. So we've got designs going in multiple cities, we've got multiple new projects that are coming down the road this year and next year we're going to release. So I think it's a constant improvement and software improvement for current products, but also releasing new products that benefit customers in new ways. And I think we've talked a little bit about, we did a tour earlier. I think in the past, the goal has always been for a lot of radar detector companies they work on sensitivity first. So, getting the best sensitivity today is not the big challenge. The big challenge is making a detector that's quiet and doesn't go off on every blind spot monitor or door opener and still get an alert from a true radar. So that's the real push. And I think that's where we're very unique. We have really good sensitivity. We have a way right now to eliminate blind spot monitoring systems, so we're working on that, and we're constantly improving that. And then the last item is, hey, how do we let our customers know that there are alerts way ahead of us? Laser's one of them. Not everyone drives with a laser jammer, so it'd be nice to know ahead of, down the road that there's a police officer operating laser, and that's where live comes in. And so, having this great app that can share locations where police are ahead of time gives you much greater distance than we have today, and still provides a great option that everyone else doesn't have. So those three areas, sensitivity, false alarm rate, and then this idea of community, giving customers a look ahead on where police really are, that's where we're targeting in the future. So I think you'll see improvements in all those areas in the future.
How about kind of the engineering staff, as far as people who can test and develop new firmware to address bugs with the detector, making sure there's enough people to keep the detectors current and updated?
Yeah. So we have people on the forum that do road testing for us. We also have third parties, reviewers. We also have bloggers and writers. All they have to do is sign an NDA. We'll give them a new product to go road test for us.
Well, I guess my question is, once they have the information, they provide that to you. You guys having the engineering staff to implement the changes as needed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we clearly. I think we do. I think, and if you look at a lot of the changes, probably the best improvement you can make to a product is a software update, and provide them. And probably I'd say over half of our engineering team is software related right now. So big focus on software. In both in the embedded systems where we're rejecting things like the blind spot monitoring, but also in application development, also in updates, being able to provide updates easily to customers in the area of speed traps, speed cameras, and giving customers all of that information. I think there's work going on in all those areas, and that's all software related. So a lot of these things that we're tackling are huge tasks. App development or blind spot monitoring, all of those developments are, it's not, hey, I do a change in a couple of weeks and then we kick it out.
Sure.
If it were, we'd be cranking them out like crazy, but it's really, there's a lot of testing. Just if you look at blind spot monitoring alone, every car manufacturer seems to have a different system that they use. So the modulation can be different. The spectrum, if you look at it, looks very different. And so you're really developing, what you're doing is you're developing blind spot monitoring rejection for every major car company. Some of them look alike, some of them don't. So there's always new work, and there are always new cars and systems coming out that you have to test. So it's a huge task. And so you have to get these cars. It's not just like you go do it. You have to get the cars, you have to take the data, you have to write software, then you have to go back and test the cars. And it's a long and arduous process. So we're constantly working on that, and so it just takes longer. We clearly hear our customers, and they're saying, "Hey, we'd love to have updates. We want less falsing. We want more alert time. We want community. Give us more features. All of those things we take very seriously, and we're working on right now." So
I guess then to get to the heart of the question, it's true, developing even better BSM filters and everything that's involved, it's so easy to just say, oh, make it better, but to actually do it is challenging. And then to see okay, the Max 360 lockup, I'm well, there was an update released before, but it didn't totally solve it, or the Max 2 updates, it took a while to come out. So I guess my question is there the staff, the engineering capabilities to do all of this, which is very technically challenging, and do it in a fairly timely manner so the stuff is released quickly?
Yeah, and I think you've picked on the two engineering issues that have been really tough to tackle. One is blind spot monitoring, so that's why it's taken a little bit of time because of the amount of work that goes into it. But the lockup issue, honestly, we are still unable to duplicate it. There are some things out there that are just really tough to duplicate, and so we've had customers who have said, "Hey guys, I see this, but if it's well, can you go back to that location and get it to do it again?" Rarely, if never, will that occur again. So the question is to be able to duplicate it has been tough. So we put some software in, some test software in. We sent it out to a few people. They tested the product and tried to provide feedback, and it did give us a slight indication of where the issue might be. So we dug down into it, we made some changes. We sent it back out and said, "Hey guys, can you test it?" We're all driving here every day, right? We do that all day long. A lot of people here everybody who works here goes out and drives detectors, and we update them every day when we have new software. So we just couldn't duplicate it. So that was a long process, and we were trying to figure out, hey, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? And we don't have the smoking gun to be able to say, hey, we fixed it or we haven't. So yeah, those two were tough to fix, but we think we did fix the lockup problem finally. So it wasn't a matter of not having enough people. It's just what is the issue?
And it was kind of tough. I remember figuring out, are you running Escort Live? Is it seeing multiple signals? Is it instant on shots? Is it a strong signal versus a weak? Figuring out what's causing it. We believed it was there might have been in some locations, either there was a lot going on, both GPS wise, lockout wise, signal wise, all of these things all adding up to just a little bit longer time than we really wanted. And that's kind of the fix that we made in software. It seems to have fixed the problem. So we think we have it under control, but we'll see. So far so good. So cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So speaking of which, I guess development. I'm curious about the Max CI, the M7 platform. Are there any plans to maybe put that into a windshield mount? Is that feasible with a bigger antenna?
We're looking into that. I think probably in the future that would probably happen. I mean, it makes sense to pull that technology down into
That's
a dash.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm also curious, I guess speaking of which, Escort Live, kind of the future as far as app development, improvements. I know it's merged with iRadar recently. I'm kind of curious to hear like how all that's going.
So we looked at our network as one of our really critical things from a company perspective that we have as a technological advantage. When we look back and we had close to 3.5 million actual app downloads, and we looked at the activity that was being generated by not only our Escort Live app but our iRadar app, it really dawned on us that we had probably one of the most active machine-to-machine connected networks out there. Regardless of radar, all aftermarket products out there, we were really connected. So we thought that this was an amazing advantage if we could just invest in it and build it out. So what we did is we looked at this and said we're going to combine all of the attributes that we have from the iRadar perspective under the Cobra. We would combine the attributes that we have from Escort. We would tie those into a number of different devices that would be used, so that we would look at this and say our users of our CB radios, if they were connected through iRadar perhaps, they could have data that could be shared to them when they're operating their vehicle. And those are commonly in over-the-road trucks. And if you could imagine, if you could add the population of truck drivers that use our CB radios 24/7 on the highway system, being able to provide content and receive content, what a benefit that would be.
So Escort Live tying in with CB radio users?
Tying in with the CB radio
interesting.
users. And we have a CB radio that can actually go in and the user can report visual sightings, a number of different things.
That's cool.
And for the truckers are out there, they're using your CB radios to communicate. It's one of the most prolific, still active social media networks out there. Having that sort of data tied in is just invaluable, especially for the over-the-road traveler. We look at our dash cameras. If we can integrate the same sort of feature base into the cameras where they're receiving content, suddenly a dash camera becomes a sort of drive alert system. Mm-hmm. Well, it's not using radar as a sensor, it's being able to provide a number of content things because it's receiving on that end. Mm-hmm. So we looked at that option and said, boy, if we can tie all that together and network that and build out the sort of connected technology and cameras, we can continuously build that out in our CB radios and also take the population of all of our brands of radar detectors. We could reach critical mass where the network itself is generating enough data and information that's verifiable that it becomes something that makes the whole system more intelligent. And if once you've got that critical mass of that connectivity, John's team and Roy's team can begin to look at this and say, okay, I'm going to add higher levels of connectivity. As cars evolve and Wi-Fi becomes a birthright to any vehicle, we are now on a constant internet connected experience. The data stream is richer. How much more content can we provide the user? Could we provide a very fast path to travel by towing in all of the sensor data that is being streamed in by our detector network? So that strategy that we put together is in the process of rolling out, where we have connected all of the Cobra devices, all of the Escort devices, all the Beltronics devices together, going back to all of the apps that have been downloaded to all the devices that are installed. So this gives us an enormous database. Mm-hmm. We measured this last month alone, after going out and starting to promote to our customer base and promote to the industry that this is indeed what we have accomplished, is we had over 8.5 million data shares last month alone.
Is it like a report that gets reported to the cloud?
All those reports, was there laser, was there KA band, all that data, was there something that the user reported manually that they saw, is being shared in terms of alert information. Mm-hmm. And from an activity basis, we've seen a 4 times growth over where we started at the beginning of the year. And we expect that as we put more emphasis behind that, especially as it expands to all of our products and the new product releases that we will put together throughout 2019, is we want this to be the richest, most active aftermarket network available.
Cool.
And that data comes back, and you talk about if the users of our products are connected, then the stream becomes richer and richer. And we believe then when you look at that, the sensor is no longer limited by its physical range, because it's now sharing data that's verifiable. And if we make the most accurate, noise-free or false alert-free products, then you can count on, when you receive alert, that it's truly something you need to pay attention to. And that almost gives the user, in many cases, sort of limitless knowledge about what's ahead of them.
Nice.
Yeah, I would say, just adding on to what Mark said, there are other apps and things like that out there that you can share information. But what we have that's very unique, or there are many differences between what we report and what other apps report, and we report true alerts. It's very different when if you're driving down the street and you see a police officer helping somebody change the tire and you press the button, right?
Right.
Everybody, may get that alert. But what we report we report those, and we also report things like if you get a true KA band alert, you get a true laser alert. Those are things that are independent and get uploaded to the cloud automatically.
Even if you don't see the cop.
Even if you don't see the cop and you get that alert, all of a sudden hey, there's somebody close to that, and we share that. And so that data is much more useful than I just drove by and there was a police officer going the other way and I pressed the button. And we get all the data in our app. We have customers pressing buttons. We have true data being automatically uploaded from these automatic alerts on radar detectors. And so now in our cloud and with our servers, we're able to mine that data and process it very differently. So we can change times on how long we alert customers. We can put an importance level to that data and say, clearly KA or a laser alert, we truly know that was there. It was a police officer shooting in a speed trap. That's super important. If you report it, that's important, but it may be less important than a true alert. So that's something that we definitely do, and we continue to improve that. And as Mark said, the more data we collect, the better information we can provide to the customers driving around. And so the other thing that we've done is we have an app, and there are customers who don't want to use the app. We want to be able to provide that same information to those customers, and that's one of the big drivers to the MAX 360C. So now you have Wi-Fi. If you have a hotspot in the car, or you want to connect to a hotspot or anything in the car, now you don't need the app. So the app's great. We have a lot of features in the app that you wouldn't get. There's the map and all of those features. But if you still want all these alerts as you're driving by, you can get all of those with the MAX 360C. So you don't have to have your phone running. You don't have to worry about if you don't want to run the app. You can still be connected. You can still get all the alerts, all the camera locations, all the speed trap locations. You can get all of the instant data that's been fed up. And so that's something that no other system has. And that's what's really awesome about, I think, having our user base feed us all this information, and that's what we've been trying to grow. We feel that's really important, and that's where we're headed. And I think in the future, as Mark said, you'll see more more things rolling into the app over time that are going to be helpful to the customers and the drivers. So yeah, I'd say stay tuned on that one too. So.
Quick question for you. Speaking of, I guess, verified apps, I used Cobra's iRadar a couple of years ago. It's probably changed since, but I remember K-band, like you couldn't lock out K-band alerts. It would just auto-report every single K-band alert, auto door opener and blind spot. Is that still the case with iRadar, or?
So there's two parts of this. One is behind the scenes, every alert that the detector gets, if you're connected and into the system, gets reported. Mm-hmm. And so all of that gets stored on our servers, and we look at all that data. So the question is what should we be feeding back down to the customer, to the driver, right? So all the X bands, all the K bands, all the door openers, all the real police, all the cop spot, all that information's up there. All the locations are there. all the frequencies, everything's there. So you can imagine what you could do with that data over time as you build this database. And we've been building it for years and years. We've got a lot of data that we're managing right now. And we're looking at new ways to apply that data to help our drivers, you know.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, hey, I live in this area or that area. What frequency radar am I seeing in that area? And you guys have a lot of that in your servers.
And so you can imagine as you get more and more alerts over time, all of a sudden you can start looking at some of these locations and say, wow, here's a speed trap, right? And here's a speed trap that's there Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 to 8 o'clock. And then I'm just making this up. But,
Sure, yeah.
But all of a sudden all that data and processing is possible. And so that's, you know, that's just more, those are just more features that we can add to the app, to our products, to our servers. Those kind of things are where we want to be.
You know, the one thing about that is on the holidays like July 4th or Memorial Day weekend, the cops are out, the police officers are out everywhere. We know where they're at certain times, so we can report that to them from the previous year's history.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So there's so much data we have that we know that they're typically staying in this area on this day. For, you know, so those are things that we can do in the future.
And we do right now. We scrub the database to actually put together locations that are speed trap related. So you know, there's always the data. Hey, I just saw a K-band alert out here on the expressway today. But as over time, we can look at that and make decisions based on, well, you know, recently or going back a certain time frame, are there really, you know, is this truly a speed trap? And we have the data to go back and look at all that, and so we do. That's how we generate our speed trap information that we provide customers. Mm-hmm. We look at that. We just say, hey, these are the hot spots. You know, we don't want to alert every hot spot, but we make some intelligent decisions based on some parameters, and that's a changing thing that changes all the time. So we're constantly updating speed traps. And then we have also our database of red light cameras and speed cameras that get updated every Monday. And so that database now with the 360C, we can provide an update every Monday. So if you have a 360C and you're connected, you'll notice on most Mondays you'll power the unit up and it'll come up and say, hey, we have an update. Do you want to update your locations for the camera database and the speed trap database? And you get an update every Monday. We want to continue that and build that, and all of that information still gets provided real time if you're connected to either a Wi-Fi hotspot or you're connected to the app. So
yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
So it's always on, it's always ready, it's always reported.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing I'd like to talk about would be Beltronics. So I know you guys have brought in like the GT360. Like, so is the brand back? Are there new detectors coming out? What's the story with Beltronics and how they fit in the lineup?
Well, it never went away. It's been Beltronics is a big brand for us internationally. It also has really served a role for us domestically. We just did not put the level of investment in it in the past. So what you're seeing right now is the reformulated Beltronics that will serve both our business domestically as well as it will serve our business internationally. And it's a big business for us internationally, as Beltronics historically has been, whether this is Russia, it is Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, or here in the US and Canada. We focused on the two areas that were bridged between where Cobra stops and where Escort starts.
Okay.
So it is really filling a great role for us. We're looking at specific customers that take our products on in certain markets, and we're continuously investing in it to make sure that it's connected and contributing into the network. It's got the latest of our technology that we built into it, and it still has the sort of bad boy view of it. When you look at the products, the industrial designs are more fashioned towards the muscle car vision in it, especially when you look at the industrial design of the GT-1, where it can relate more to that particular legacy customer or somebody who really wants to get something that, from an industrial design view, looks unique.
So speaking of the GT1, I know we've had the GT7. Is the GT1 new product coming out, or can you tell us a little more about it?
Yes, the GT1 is just about ready to come to market. So
Okay.
we'll be making official market announcement in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
The product itself is, we believe state-of-the-art for its price point, and we'll be getting ready to release that product by the end of the month.
I'm sure you probably want to wait till the release, but is there anything you can tell us, like price point or what to expect or features or how it fits into the lineup?
So it'll be around the mid-200s.
Okay.
Think of it as really a supercharged Beltronics product in that price range, fully connected. This particular design will allow us to sell that same platform in multiple international markets as well as the domestic market.
Okay. And I'm sure we'll have all the information once the product launches. I'm curious, but I'll wait till I guess.
Sharp industrial design, good feature set, has all the level of connectivity, our updatable IVT technology, everything built into it that brings it right up to speed in terms of state-of-the-art technology with the best of our brands.
Okay, cool. So I guess how it slots in, it's then Cobra, Beltronics, Escort, as far as how the three brands line up here in the U.S.?
Correct.
That's correct.
And when you go to various countries, you might not see a Cobra, but you'll see a Escort or Beltronics.
Okay.
Or you might go to other countries and you see a Cobra and Beltronics. So it depends on where that brand has been and what role it serves.
That's always one of the difficult things for me. It's people from other countries asking me what's the best detector, and I'm like, things are so different in other countries, I couldn't tell you. I would love to be able to, but I can't do it because things are different.
Well, the technology that law enforcement uses in each of those countries are uniquely different. The rules of engagement that they have with operators is different.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, provides a tremendous challenge for Roy and John to be able to make sure that from a brand image and a customer experience that they can trust the brand to do what it says it's going to do regardless of where they operate it. So where that is enforceable and where that is the users are allowed to use that product, we market our products that way.
And I've been hearing good things recently with the latest update for the Redline EX International, the IVT,
Mm-hmm.
toggle on and off. I've been hearing good results as far as that.
And we work very closely with our in-country distributors, testing and doing a number of things to evolve. The response time has gotten immensely better for us with our customers and that working in that level of partnership.
Oh, good.
So, it's an always evolving cat and mouse game, and when you take, a dozen different law enforcement agencies from a country perspective, the needs for threat detection and providing the drivers the ability to be ticket-free is different and unique with each country.
And I'm glad you're taking care of them too. It's not just the U.S. and Canada. I guess speaking of the U.S. and Canada, we're starting to get the MRCD, and you have another Redline EX can detect it. Do you know if that's going to be coming to more detectors, or like MAX-CI International? Is that going to be showing up here? More MRCD capable stuff?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to end up showing up on the MAX-CI for North America.
Okay,
There's
cool.
no question about it. It started to pop up a little bit in Canada, and
Yeah.
so we just need to fix that problem.
People have been asking about
Yeah.
that up there and stuff. So okay.
That's been another big challenge because if you look at the spectrum, if you look at the signature of MRCD, it looks very similar to a lot of the blind spot monitor systems that are out there today. And my guess is they built it off the same kind of system.
Mm-hmm.
So in one case you want to reject blind spot monitors, and the other instance you want to detect MRCD. So there was a lot of work that went into those international products to be able to distinguish the difference between the two. So big challenge there. So yeah, I think that's something. They're more complicated systems. There are a lot more camera systems over in Europe and in Asia. Many more. They have average speed cameras over there where they average your time on the expressway with the camera going in on an entrance ramp, and with the license plate they're able to read that, and then as you come off they just average the time and give you a ticket. So there's a lot of those systems over there, so we report all of those and allow the customer to know, hey, I'm coming into an average speed camera area, and also when he's in it and when he disappears. So there's a lot of different systems over there that we don't have here yet in the United States, and I don't know, some of those we believe they're going to come this way. Some of them probably won't. So we want to make sure we're on top of that. And one of the advantages is doing an international product. So by doing them, we're learning ahead of the time, hey, we're able to either detect these or reject these systems before they come to the U.S. And so we're kind of a little bit ahead of the curve on some of those things. So.
It's good that you guys are, and you have the technology, and you can bring it over here too. And
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, cool. The next thing I want to talk about is the Escort Forum, kind of the experience there in terms of customer service, user engagement, that kind of stuff. And I guess kind of moving forward with the forum, what could be done to improve people's experiences there? I haven't really had a great experience there. And I know that's been kind of a common thing for a lot of people, the forum. It's been kind of a pain point. So I'm kind of curious as far as what could be done to improve the overall user experience. It's good for you guys and good for everybody who frequents your forum.
Well, it's a great question. I mean, we have a lot of interactivity with our forum, and I think our challenge overall is making sure that our customer service function is operating to the levels that our customers want to engage us with, and that's been a challenge itself. As we expand our business and we expand the complexity of our products, also comes with that the sort of responsibility to interact with our customers. And we have been a brand that has been out there for years and years, so there is a lot of product in a lot of different stages of ownership life. And that really poses challenges for us to make sure that we can keep up with the level of inquiries and calls. So we are expanding our call center support here. We intend to build that out for not only the phone calls, but email. We're expanding our social media support, which will also lend towards our ability to run a little bit more interactive forum than we've had in the past. So our intention is really to continuously provide that the Escort Forum is the place where consumers, if they aren't able to get with us right away, but they have a question, that they can pose it, and that our members that are part of the forum can provide the level of information back to them. Maybe this is at night, it's a different type of question, but they can get better responses. We'll be putting more resources in to allow better curation of it, but we do want to continuously make it a good place for people to come and get a good experience and get some rich information. But we are experiencing that consumers now more than ever use a variety of different methods that they expect to engage with companies like ourselves. Certainly our customer base is extremely sophisticated. They range from really the casual user all the way up to the super enthusiast. So their needs and demands range, and also their methods of communication, whether they want to use Facebook Live or they want to be Twitter or Instagram. I mean, we're getting that huge variety. So we know that we're going to have to expand our skill sets within our company to be able to manage how customers want to interact with us. And the forum is something that we created many years ago, and we're seeing activity just exponentially grow. Now that said, we do regularly survey our consumers. We stay on top of that typically weekly and monthly. We're reaching out to make sure that we're reading the cues correctly, we're providing the right sort of support, and we're constantly coming back and feeding that back into our support plans. What we do want to be able to provide is a very comfortable environment for our users to come in where they don't feel threatened, or they're not being sidetracked with a lot of different information that they didn't come to receive. And some of that curation that you have to get involved can come away as being heavy-handed, but we do want to make sure it's very clear to everybody that we want to make sure everybody's invited to share their Escort ownership experiences, but there is a level of behavior that we want to make sure is guarded so that we don't offend people that our customers are coming in, or scare them away, or make them feel intimidated.
And it's a balance. I mean, people a lot of times go to forums because they have complaints, because they have problems and they need help. And so a lot of it can be a place for people to go with complaints. And I mean, that happens with any sort of support forum. That's why it's there. But I mean, depending on the attitude that we see coming from Escort, it's almost driven me off the forum. The only reason I go there anymore is to find out what are the latest updates, to update people on here's a new firmware update or something. But to actually engage, to support your customers, I don't go in the forum anymore just because the experience has been so bad. And when it degenerates into any sort of like disrespectful or lack of courtesy, when we get into that territory, I'm like, I'm out of here. And that's actually one of the reasons I wanted to come here. It's like, what can we do to make sure, things are good for you guys, of course. I'm sure it's stressful to deal with complaints and everything, but it has to go both ways to make sure,
Yes.
it's good in both directions.
And I think engaging with you for feedback on that is very important to us. We want to be able to provide the resources for good curation, and you're right, it's a balancing act.
It's a balance.
That we have to be able to provide the level of expression, but we don't want to provide an intimidating environment. The complexity of it is that it's one of the largest active forums created in that space. It has a number, if you look back at the number of users we serve, it's extremely large. So the ability to keep it relevant and updated is going to require us to invest in more resources, which we're committed to go do.
Okay, good. Can you give maybe some, or sorry, go ahead.
And certainly working with you to say, hey, what are the areas that you as somebody who's involved in forums would look at? How can we make sure that we're making the balance work? But what level of information that's missing that needs to be reported? We try to reach out and survey our customers on a regular basis to say, hey, are we serving you right? What would we do? But also, taking your viewpoint and your viewpoint from other forums, perhaps, to look at the balancing act is something that we're open to being able to do.
Maybe like one example of an issue that comes to mind, and it's kind of the next question that I wanted to get into, so maybe a good segue for that, the DragonEye stuff. When the MRCD first came out with the DragonEye support, there were advertised claims that it could jam the DragonEye, and a number of enthusiasts bought the products, went out to test it, and almost universally we were finding it wasn't able to do that. We reported the issue on the forums, and people got accused of lying, of what was the word, slander, all that kind of stuff, fake news, all this kind of stuff. People banned off of Escort forums, pretty much trying to denounce everybody who was sharing this information. And then eventually Escort updated the products to fix the issues that we were reporting. And then it's getting to the point, I'm like, well, why bother testing it and submitting information if this is what we get in return? We test all this kind of stuff, we'd love to help you out, but if that's what we're getting, like, why bother testing? Why bother helping? So it has to be like, I get it, it's not fun if you get information, it's like, oh, we thought this is what it was going to be like, but here's what we get instead. Can we just work together to create better products and a better user experience for everybody and have a healthier experience along the way? I guess is one example that I really, really want to get.
Yeah, so I'll address that, that particular issue. Honestly, here's what happened. We developed the MRCD product. It detected DragonEye 1, DragonEye 2, DragonEye 3. We released the product. DragonEye 4 came out, and it was in 1 or 2 locations across the country. And as soon as we found out about DragonEye 4, we immediately got a gun, worked on a software solution, and provided it to the customer. So the customer got a solution shortly after we got the gun, and they were able to update their product as soon as we had that available. What kind of happened is, and this is more opinion than anything else, but I think there's also a lot of competition in the forum, and there were a lot of people that came in and said, "You guys don't detect DragonEye." Well, we did. We detect DragonEye 1, 2, and 3. And there was a brand new gun that was released, and I think it was a marketing ploy by some competitors to say, "Hey guys, they don't detect DragonEye," and that was not the case. All the guns that were out there, we were detecting. There was 1 or 2 guns that were introduced on DragonEye 4, and then as soon as that came out, we immediately got a gun and provided an update. So there's not a lot of drama or anything in there, but I think it was kind of generated in the forums like, "Oh, hey guys, you're lying, or you're not telling the truth, or you're not doing things." We did things exactly as we normally would, which is, hey, we detect 1, 2, and 3. We made it clear we detect 1, 2, and 3. There is a 4 gun out there, and we'll provide an update shortly, and we did. So
I guess that's one of the tricky things about the gun is everybody thinks DragonEye, but there's so many variants, and even since then there's new versions that have come out.
And mouse game.
And it's really,
That
it's all software for the most part. It's how the pulses are timed and generated in the gun. And being able to pick that up. So it's much easier, of course, to receive that kind of pulse train than it is to jam it. And so that's why we provide software updates. So when new guns come out, we're able to say, hey, here's a software update, hopefully to take care of that gun. And then we're always working on the next generation of product and hardware-wise so that we can make improvements to transmit power and all of those things that we typically would like to do in some of these products. So yeah, I don't think there was no ploy to say, hey guys, we weren't lying when we said we detect DragonEye, and that was, we did, and we fixed it right away. So I don't know, I think it was kind of overblown by some, I don't want to call them competitors, but some people in the forum. So
Yeah, I think it's just kind of one of those things when you got to realize, like with that gun especially, you really have to stay on top of the newest versions because
right.
there
That's
are
right.
so many different
That's right.
variants. It's you can jam some of the older ones, the easier ones, but as things get harder, are you able to stay on top of that and continue to stay updated over time?
yeah, and so honestly, we buy every system we possibly can buy, every gun that comes out. As far as laser is concerned, if there's a new software update, we get it. If there's a new radar gun, we buy it. We've spent a lot of money on some of the photo radar systems that have been out in the past that are fixed mounted, just to be able to look at those systems and detect those. So it's a constant process, and that's why we want to make sure that we build our update capabilities, make it as easy as possible for customers to use, to just go online, download the app, update whatever product you have, simply, easily, as often as you want, and keep that going, because that's super critical to us. And now we're trying to provide even easier ways for a lot of our products to get an update. And if you look at like the connected products like the Max 360C, you don't have to even bring your detector inside. You just drive up, it comes up and says, hey, I have an update, would you like to update? You press the button, you get an instant update, either software firmware wise or database wise. So that's where we're headed, and we want to make sure we provide our customers with that, the latest in software technology and in hardware technology that we possibly can.
So one thing I wanted to come back to was the DragonEye jamming capabilities, how effective it is in its current state, how many heads people need depending on the size of their vehicle, where the heads should be placed. Basically, what does it take with the Escort shifter system to successfully and reliably jam the DragonEye?
That's a good question. So we typically, on a regular car, we have 2 laser shifters, and we typically place them a third of the way into the car, or you don't want to put them right on the ends of the car, but you kind of want to get them kind of halfway between that end and the middle of the car is a good location to put on each side, to put one on each side. So two on a normal car. On a bigger truck, a big semi, we're putting 4 of those on a big semi, just because the height issue, as you go up, you want something that's definitely higher, because otherwise you can actually move the beam width up high enough on a truck, up near the windshield and things, to get a reading. So you four on a semi and 2 on a car is what we have. So
I've noticed with the DragonEye, without getting into specifics, sometimes the heads operate independently, depending on what they're doing. Does it matter with like ports 1 and 2 or heads 3 and 4, how they're placed on the car?
You mean as to which one you plug in, or which one?
Well, like if you take the heads and you switch positions on the car, if they're doing
they're
different
the
things.
same. You can switch them either
Well,
location.
you would always want to keep, if you're trying to detect DragonEye, 1 and 2 together, and
Oh,
then
right,
3
right,
and 4
right.
together.
When you say together, like on the same side of the vehicle, or
Well,
on
you
the
would
bottom
want
of
to
the
put 1 and 2 beside one another this way, and then 3 and 4 up here on top.
So there's a couple options. If you look
1
at
and
the
2, 3, 4.
If you look at the interface too, there are dip switches, and so
Right.
you can select them so that you can have up to 4 all on the same side.
Right.
Or you can have some on the front and some on the rear. So you just have to make sure that you get the switch selection correct.
Right.
When you put them on the vehicle. So if they're all front, then they're going to operate all as a system on the front. And then so if you use 1 or 2 in the front and 3 and 4 in the back, then you just need to make sure. We've had some customers and some installs where they've got 1 in the front and 1 in the back. That's a problem. So because they do work as a system together, 1 and 2, or 1, 2 and 3, or 1, 2, 3 and 4, all as a system, depending on how you set the dip switches. So,
Okay.
so yeah. But it doesn't matter. You can put 1 or 2. It doesn't matter on which side of the car you put them.
Okay, cool, thanks. I guess my next question then has to do with testing, independent testing. Like, I'm curious to hear your take on testers like myself or others who like to buy the products and see how they perform and do testing. Kind of your take on, I guess just testing in general.
Okay, so just in general, just if you look at the way we develop products, we typically put together a prototype product, and then we get to a point where we actually do an engineering build on a product. So we may build, in that engineering prototype, we may build 50 or 60 of those products, and some of them go into testing, but a lot of them go into cars. And so right now we have a number of outside testers that actually test our product, and then typically we test quite a bit inside, and we do have some known testers that we work with, and we'd love to work with you and have you do that too. The only thing we ask for is we ask for a non-disclosure, and that's only because the product hasn't been released yet, and the real goal is to provide feedback to us before we launch the product. So
Sure.
if there's an issue, or it's like we don't like the way it works, maybe there's a better way to user interface or something like that, or it's not detecting something they would expect, that's really what we're looking for on that early testing. So we want to make sure we get really good results, and we want to get people who are going to beat the heck out of the product, for a better word. That's who we're looking for. We're looking for guys, like you, that go out and drive all day and really care about how the product works, and can go through it and say, we got some issues here still. That's what we're looking for.
And I'm glad to hear that the information that testers that you're using is actually going into helping with the engineering side and development of the products.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about it after we launch the product.
Sure,
right? That's no help. So clearly we get as much feedback as we can. We ask customers, we do surveys, we do quite a bit of work before the product gets launched. And there's some things that we're not going to get it right for everybody. Everybody's going to have their opinion. But clearly, as far as a good performing product, and making sure it works well and it's easy to use, we rely on those early testers to give us that positive feedback or negative feedback, depending on how it goes. So, yeah, that's critical for us.
Is it so? It is something that you're finding useful and it's helpful.
Oh yeah.
Even after a product is launched, and you see tests compared to your competitors and see how it stands. All that.
Well, just as the example of that you brought up earlier, which is all about the jam to kill issue. We clearly had some opinion when we developed the products.
Sure.
And if one or two customers came back and said, "Hey, look, it'd be nice to have this," or whatever, but we thought everybody else was okay with it, I'm not sure we would do anything. But when we get this overwhelming, hey guys, we really want you to do this. This is really an important feature, and it sounds like maybe we didn't include it in the original launch of the product. That's what drives us to go back and add those kind of features back into the product. So yeah, we're always looking for that. I mean, I think some people, and clearly it's this way in a lot of companies, some people feel like, hey, you're not listening or to everything. I go into the forum all the time and I read everything that's said. All these guys do. We want to bring all that information in, not just totally shut it out. Our goal is to listen to the customer, because guess what? We sell more radar detectors that way. So.
Mm-hmm. So I guess then on that note, for people who have suggestions or feedback or compliments or complaints or whatever it is, anything that we could give you guys that would help you with product development or improvement, or like what can people do if they have a suggestion to what would be the best thing for you guys?
I would say just put it on the forum for us, as far as, and be as accurate as possible with what your concerns are. Because we look at those as soon as we launch a product, especially after we launch a product. We're on the forum watching that every day. So that's one key part for me.
Yeah, and I think Roy and Mark have done, and Dave have done a great job of a lot of our testers that get these products earlier than the launch of the product. Like right when we first start developing it, the software may not even be done. It kind of works, kind of detects. Let's go out there. Let's get some feedback.
Sure.
Those people came to us from the forums. We found a lot of those guys through the forum. So
right.
So we look at those people. I mean, that's where some of our most passionate customers are and most knowledgeable customers are. So those are the people we go after, right? We don't want somebody that just drives it home and says, oh, it beeps and does. We want somebody that's an experienced user, and that's where we're picking a lot of these people from. So I'd say get on the forum and provide the feedback. And let us know, or if you're one of these people that we're working with today, they're providing that data behind the scenes. I know everybody doesn't see it, and everybody thinks, hey, there's nothing going on, but there's a lot going on every day as far as feedback from people driving. So, yeah. But I think the general public, I'd say the forum for us.
And one other big
forum, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one other big thing that we'll say to all of our customers, our users out there, is use our application, connect your product. I think what you're going to find is the experience is getting richer and richer, and we'd really like, one, the feedback from that. Secondly, the more that app is engaged, the more data that comes in, the richer and more accurate that it becomes. So from a community of users out there who, if you're not using the application, we invite you to go do that, keep it on, because you're helping everybody else within the community to provide information back to each other. So that's probably one of the things that we want to really promote most, is just start using it, use it a lot, tell us what you think about it. It's going to be something that the experience evolves, pretty regularly. Things will be improving over that, and I believe that the experience will be richer and richer because we've got more community members who are engaged with it.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you're missing out if you're not using some of the live features or the connected features of the product. That's a huge part of it because, let's face it, there's instant on radar, and that's been around forever. There's, every laser gun that's out there is basically instant on. So having advanced warning, I mean, that's the most basic thing that you're getting out of that app, but there are a lot of other features that are in the app today and a lot more that are going to be coming in the future. So if you're not using it, you're missing out on quite a bit of those. I mean, there's a higher chance that you're going to get a ticket from an instant on feature, and that's why we created the app. We didn't do it just for fun. I mean, we did it because we truly believe we want those customers to be able to get an advanced alert. I want to be able to slow down. I don't want to drive into a laser jamming system or an alert system and have to brake. I want to know well ahead of time that, hey, there's already an officer up there using, clocking people. So, get in there and use it. And it's just like as people provide information back to us on the detector, we get a lot of feedback on the detector itself. Mm-hmm. We'd love to see the same amount of feedback on the live app, on the connected version. We're getting a lot of feedback on the connect, but we're looking for that. We're looking for, hey guys, are you thinking about this? Have you thought about that? I mean, maybe we have, maybe we haven't. We may not come back and say, oh yeah, we're doing that 6 months from now, but clearly we're listening to that, or maybe it's like that's already on our roadmap. So yeah, provide that feedback. We want to hear it.
So basically, using Escort Live and then on the forums providing feedback both for the app as well as the detectors in general would be what people could do that would most help you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't want to do that, call in.
Call. Yeah.
And we get a lot of feedback on hardware, but
Yeah.
what we're trying to get people engaged with is a lot of that experience on the application side is really evolving. So this is something we want to invite everybody, use it, report it, tell us what you like about it. And I think as more people use it, that experience is going to be enhanced.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time, and thanks for
thank
sitting
you.
down and chatting about your products.
You're welcome.
Cool.